Holland presents Rebuilding Procedures for the FW17 and XA17 series fifth wheels. The fifth wheel is a critical component of every tractor trailer. To perform reliably and safely, it must be maintained and inspected at regular intervals. Before beginning any rebuilding procedures, carefully review all of the troubleshooting hints provided on the front page of the rebuild manual. You may find that rebuilding the fifth wheel is not necessary. If these troubleshooting hints do not resolve your problems, the fifth wheel may need rebuilding. The steps we are about to show you are covered in the manual that comes with your rebuild kit. Read the manual first and refer to it while watching this video and during the rebuilding procedure. It includes illustrations and the step-by-step instructions you will need to properly complete the rebuild procedure. Rebuilding should only be performed by a qualified service technician following Holland procedures and using genuine Holland rebuild kit parts. Rebuild kits are available from all Holland distribution outlets worldwide. Since there are many different models of fifth wheels, check the manual which accompanies each kit to make sure you have the correct kit for the fifth wheel you are about to rebuild. First, let's cover some important safety information. Wear safety glasses during disassembly and assembly of the fifth wheel. Keep fingers away from all potential pinch points in the fifth wheel. Do not weld on this product. Do not deviate from the instructions contained in this manual. Any changes or deviations from these procedures will void all warranties, express or implied, unless prior written consent is obtained from Holland. Disassembly and inspection. First, place the fifth wheel upside down on a well-supported work surface. Then, totally disassemble and clean the fifth wheel. After you have disassembled and cleaned the fifth wheel, carefully inspect the entire fifth wheel casting for cracks or other signs of damage. If the fifth wheel casting is cracked or damaged, the fifth wheel must be replaced. Closely inspect the front lock surface of the fifth wheel. The front lock surface must be free of cracks, burrs, or other signs of damage. The lock pin and adjusting pin of the Holland FW17 series fifth wheel are designed to be slip fit. They are not designed to be press fit like other Holland fifth wheels. However, if either hole is elongated, the fifth wheel must be replaced. The maximum allowable lock pin hole diameter is 1.429 inches. The maximum allowable adjusting pin hole diameters are 1.672 inches on top and 1.172 inches on bottom. Warning: do not attempt to repair or service if the fifth wheel is cracked or distorted. The fifth wheel must be replaced. Failure to replace the fifth wheel could result in tractor and trailer separation, which may result in death or serious injury to others. As you rebuild the fifth wheel, use all the required hardware, cotter pins, springs, bolts, spacers, and washers provided in the kit. A small tube of never-seize lubricant is provided with your rebuild kit. Make sure it is used on the required surfaces as described in this video. Warning: do not reuse old parts. All of the required parts in this kit must be used. Do not substitute other or used parts. Improper part combinations can cause product malfunctions. If your rebuild kit is missing parts, call your local Holland representative at 1-888-396-6501. Fifth wheel assembly. Begin by inserting the release handle S-bend through the rib handle window as shown. Lubricate both holes of the release cam with never-seize. Also lubricate both sides around the cam slot and the cam slot itself with grease, as shown. Install the release cam into the S-bend of the release handle so that the end of the S-bend is facing up. Articulate the release handle and release cam so that the release cam can be fed through the slot in the main rib. Next, lubricate the hook contact surfaces with a light grease. Lubricate the pinholes of the hook with Never Seize as shown. Now install the hook pin into the release cam hole. Head towards the casting. Place the hook over the hook pin as shown. Move the hook and release cam into position so the cam slot is over the tapped hole in the casting. Place a washer rounded side against the release cam between the release cam and boss on the casting. Place the spacer in the cam slot over the tapped hole in the casting. Place another washer rounded side towards the release cam and aligned over the spacer. Secure the assembly using the 1/2 20 by 1 3/4 inch bolt. Using a torque wrench, tighten the bolt to 40 to 50 foot-pounds. Now, place the fifth wheel right side up and install the low head cap screw as shown. Next, lubricate the lock adjusting pin and the lock pin with Never Seize. Now lubricate the lock contact surfaces with a light grease. You will also need to lubricate both the top and bottom holes of the casting with Never Seize for both the lock pin and the adjusting pin. Align the hook and insert the adjusting pin so that it lines up with the first adjustment notch as shown. Now flip the fifth wheel back over. Install the cotter pin into the adjusting pin, spreading both cotter pin legs. Now align the lock, insert the lock pin, and install the cotter pin, spreading both legs as shown. To prevent rotation of the cotter pin, a wide-bladed screwdriver can be used as shown. Next, feed the release cam spring through the casting window. Now install the spacer, washer, and 1/2 20 by 1 1/2 inch bolt as shown. Using a torque wrench, tighten the bolt to 40 to 50 foot-pounds. If your fifth wheel is equipped with a cast post for spring attachment, place a new retainer over the post and hammer into place as shown. Now attach the spring to the release cam as shown. Assemble the release handle springs by sliding the smaller diameter spring, item number 16 in the rebuild instructions, inside of the larger one. When assembled, the spring should be approximately the same length and the loops aligned in the same direction. Attach both springs to the release handle and casting as shown. Attach the lock extension spring to the casting and lock as shown. Inspecting the locking mechanism. First, Place the fifth wheel right side up. Now open the lock by sliding the release handle forward and pulling it to full extension as shown. Verify the proper operation of the fifth wheel by locking and unlocking the fifth wheel using a Holland Kingpin lock tester part number TF-TLN5001. Set the tool on the fifth wheel. Engage the J-hook. Rotate the handle to lock the fifth wheel. Now verify that the fifth wheel is properly locked by, first, checking that the lock is engaged around the kingpin and the hook is engaged behind the lock. And second, checking that the release handle is in the closed position with the notch fully engaged behind the casting window. Pull the fifth wheel release handle forward, out, and hook it on to the unlock notch. Pull the handle of the lock tester towards the rear. Verify that the handle kicks off the unlock notch and moves into the ready to couple position. Do this a couple of times. After each attempt, verify that the fifth wheel is properly locked by checking the lock, the hook, the release handle, and that the release handle kicks off when the locks are opened. Warning: do not use any fifth wheel which does not operate properly. If the fifth wheel does not operate properly, contact your local Holland representative for assistance. Failure to properly operate this fifth wheel could result in tractor separation, which may cause death or serious injury to others. FW17 lock adjustment procedure. Warning: a Holland lock adjustment tool, part number TF-TLN5001, with a precision SAE kingpin must be used for proper lock adjustment. The lock is adjusted against both the 2-inch and the 2 7/8 inch diameters of the kingpin. A 2-inch pin or plug will not properly adjust the fifth wheel. Using only a Holland TF-TLN5001 lock adjustment tool, lock the fifth wheel. Verify that the fifth wheel is locked by, first, checking that the lock is engaged around the kingpin and the hook is engaged behind the lock, and second, checking that the release handle is in the closed position with the notch fully engaged behind the casting window. Now, unhook the J-hook. Next, slide the adjustment tool forward and backward to check for play between the lock and kingpin. Ensure that the tool remains flat with full contact on the fifth wheel surface. If free play exceeds 80 thousandths of an inch, you need to adjust the lock. Remove the lock adjustment tool from the fifth wheel. To adjust the lock, unscrew the socket head cap screw until the head clears the adjusting pin and rotate the adjusting pin counterclockwise until the next notch lines up with the socket head cap screw. Retighten the socket head cap screw. Be sure to adjust only one notch at a time. Now verify the proper adjustment by locking and unlocking the fifth wheel several times with the lock tester. Check that the fifth wheel is properly locked as shown. Now rotate the lock adjustment tool from side to side to ensure that the lock is not over-tightened. The lock should not grip the kingpin and the adjustment tool should rotate freely. Recheck for free play by sliding the adjustment tool. If there is still excessive free play in the lock, repeat the procedure and adjust one more notch. If the adjustment is still unsatisfactory, the casting may not be rebuildable. Warning: do not use any fifth wheel which does not operate properly. If the fifth wheel does not operate properly, contact your local Holland representative for assistance. Failure to properly operate this fifth wheel could result in tractor separation, which may cause death or serious injury to others. Finally, Check the operation of the fifth wheel by locking it and unlocking it several times using the lock tester. Make sure the fifth wheel is properly locked after each attempt. If the locking mechanism does not operate properly, contact your local Holland representative. When rebuilding a fifth wheel, perform each step with attention to detail. The key steps we covered in this video include inspection of the fifth wheel assembly, lock mechanism inspection, and lock adjustment. In general, remember to lubricate all moving parts during assembly. Be sure to follow each of the procedures completely and observe safe practices and precautions at every stage. As a vital part of every tractor trailer, the fifth wheel deserves quality maintenance performed by experienced personnel. Holland is proud to go the distance.